Supreme Magus, Chapter 25, Ambush. After the end of the spring festival, nothing major happened, and Lid's life returned to his usual routine. Solus proved to be an invaluable help for his magical training. Despite having lost all her past knowledge and being quite naive in the ways of life, she was by far the brighter of the two. Solus was not limited to the human's five senses, but actually had 12. Solus was certain that by regaining her powers, she would be able to awaken even more. Solus' sense of mana helped lead to better understand the law of magic that determined the innate talent and the mana capacity. Her mana senses was similar to Lid's life vision, but much more profound and accurate. Solus could see the mana flowing even from blades of grass or pebbles. When looking at someone, she was immediately able to grasp their magic talent. Even more important, she was able to use her mana sense even on Lid's memories. According to Solus, all the information needed for the mana senses were also contained in the visible spectrum, but the humans lacked the means to interpret them. When you were on Earth, you had no mana core. Your native world had basically no mana at all. The same thing happened on the alien spaceship, but when you were born here, you started with a very little broad red mana core. By absorbing and processing the world energy with your breathing technique, you managed to develop it from red to orange. 4 years of unrelenting practice just to promote it to the next rank? Lid was quite depressed by the news. Not quite. Your mana core also keeps changing and developing as you grow up, and this happens to everyone else. At the moment of your birth, this mana core was already filled poppy red and turned brighter every year. Right now, it's light orange. And it would not surprise me if after her final growth spurt, it turned yellow or even green. She seems to be fairly talented for magic. And where does it leave me? Lid kept feeling worse about himself. Am I really a complete failure in everything? Looks, talent, can't I do one thing right? Stop moping around and listen to me. You keep forgetting that you are 2 years younger, and I have no idea if males and females develop their mana cores at different rates. Also, you're constantly skipping steps makes harder for me to understand what your base talent is. After every cycle of expansion and compression, your mana core would turn one shader brighter. Every time you expel impurities from your mana core, it skips to the next level. Right now, it's deep green. Is it me, or this mana core strength seems to be somehow related to the light spectrum? Lid pondered. A prism can break down white light in its basic components: red, orange, yellow, green, cyan, blue, purple. Agreed. Solus' mind nodded, but it could also somehow be related to fire. Flames follow the same principle. A yellow star is colder than a green one, and so on. Our real question is the final step for a mana core to turn purple or white? Lift shook his head. I'm starting to get a head-splitting headache. We'll face this like I did for college back on Earth, one exam session at a time. Even back there, if I started to think about all the exams that I had to pass to get my degree, only to start right back for my master, I would go into a deep depression. The memory made him shudder. So let's focus on the present. I'm deep green. What about Nana? She is the only person with light cyan mana core. To be born with such a talent, she is really impressive. Is there anyone else talented in the village? Lead had to be aware of the possible competition. No, the Yale Kid Count Lark brought along had a bright yellow monocore, but I don't think he lives close by. Lead sighed. All that information overwhelming him. For so many years he had deluded himself into thinking he was special, stronger than anyone else. Now he felt like the proverbial frog in the well, finally discovering the vastness of the sea. Enough moping around. Let's roll up our sleeves and work hard. Nothing that's worth having comes easy. Lead and Solus kept practicing together for the whole year, growing closer and closer like fraternal twins. Lead's birthday was on fall, but all major activities in the village would be suspended until the next spring. Since Nana's offer was to replace the 2 years public school with apprenticeship, Lead too had to wait until spring to begin his magical education. In the late winter, the weather cleared, and the trades between the villages and the farmhouse became more and more frequent. Thanks to this, Nana was able to let Lead know the date she had set for starting his apprenticeship, entrusting the message to one of his neighbors that had come to her to heal a nasty wound, suffering while repairing the roof. When the day came, Lead woke up early, determined to keep his routine of cleaning both his house and Celia's before going to the village. The huntress had done so much for him that Lead considered her as an aunt. A stinging, nagging one that would make rip-off deals, but an aunt nonetheless. That morning, the house was in turmoil. All his loved ones were so excited at the idea of having a future mage in the family to be barely able to eat their breakfast, spending all their time and energy giving him unwanted and obvious advice. Do not be late. It's better to be a little early rather than late. Be obedient and respectful. Nana is giving you a great chance. The reason why everyone was on edge was that despite they considered the first day to be of vital importance, he had to go to the village alone. The house was in dire need of repairs, and with Orpal gone, they needed all hands on deck to also take care of the fields and animals. Lead didn't mind it at all. It was just 30 minutes walk that he had done countless times. Raz and Alina, though, felt like they were abandoning their child in his hour of need. Lead rushed out of the house to escape from that barrage of worries. He had been very calm about the apprenticeship. It wasn't his first rodeo after all, but they have managed to make him nervous like a teenager at his first date. After finishing the chores at Celia's house and collecting his usual payment, Lead restlessly looked at the sun. Damn it, it's barely dawn, and here I was, shuddering in fear. I still have a lot of time. Lead walked briskly towards the village, hoping that at his arrival Nana would be at least up. Arriving so early to give her the wake-up call would have been quite embarrassing. When he arrived midway, Lead noticed something odd. There was a horseman standing on the side of the road. It was already unusual finding a stranger so early in the morning. But what really alarmed him was that the man wasn't moving. Whoever he was clearly on patrol. As soon as the horseman noticed Lead, he took out a silvery whistle from under his shirt, emitting a high-pitched noise. Lead kept moving forward but slowly, ready to react at any moment. Soon the scout was joined by 4 other horsemen, and they started trotting towards Lead in an arrowhead formation. Lead stopped moving, many spells ready at hand. "Kid, are you Lead, son of Raz and Elena?" said the horseman on point. He was a middle-aged man with brown hair eyes. He had perfectly trimmed mustaches, and everything from his straight-up posture to his commanding tone identified him a military of some sort. Looking careful, all the horsemen had the same vibe, marching perfectly aligned. Yet they wore casual clothes, white shirts over leather hunting pants. Isn't a little earlier to go out without the matching leather jacket? Lee thought. Unless, of course, they need to avoid showing any household insignia. Who are you, mister? My mother always tells me that I'm not supposed to talk to strangers. Lee decided to stall for time while he and Solus checked their surroundings for lookouts or possible reinforcements still hiding. I perceive only 5 human males above average physical strength, deep red manacores, Solus reported. It was the same thing Lit had determined using live vision, but 4 eyes were better than 2. I asked the questions, kid. Are you the Lit that is supposed to start his apprenticeship today? Lit grimaced. Whoever sent this higher muscle knows way too much about me. I am, Lit retorted fiercely, and it's none of your business. I am here to give you a friendly advice, son. Today you are feeling very ill, and it's best for you to go back home and stay in bed all day. Lit's anger started to grow, and he didn't care about hiding it. I'm feeling perfectly fine, thank you. Now scram. The 5 men lowered their hands to the weapons hanging from their belts, the reins held tight ready to the charge. Last chance, kid. Turn back now. I know you have such a pretty house and such a beautiful mom, not to mention 2 gorgeous sisters. Ripe for the taking. It would be really sad if something bad happened to them. Lit released such a powerful killing intent aura that the horses took a step back, the hair on the horseman's neck suddenly standing up. I wanted to play this nice and slow, but I changed my mind. With a sweep of his right hand, 5 wind blades struck the horse's legs, making them whine in pain while collapsing to their sides. Now you cannot retreat anymore. The man with the mustache and his right-hand man managed to dismount with a roll, avoiding getting crushed by the failing horse. The other 3 weren't so skilled. Kill him! Go, go! Kneel! Lit's voice was cold. His words fell on the 2 men like boulders, making them instantly fall on their knees. Lit's spirit magic was stronger than ever, and he wasn't holding back even one bit. What the heck, Sarge? I can't get up, screamed the right-hand man, struggling on the ground. I never allowed you to talk or to look at me. I said kneel. Another wave, even stronger than the previous one, pushed their heads towards the ground. Despite dropping their weapons to absorb the impact with their hands, they still hit the ground so hard that they started to bleed. Much better. Now let me dispose of the garbage before resuming our talk. Lit walked over the closest horseman, still under his horse, the legs stuck and broken, making him scream and wince in pain. With a wave of the hand, turned both their heads 180 degrees. The next step, snapping like dry logs tossed into the fire. Stay away from me, monster, screamed the next in line, crying in desperation. Am I a monster? Wasn't you the one ready to burn a house full of innocents, to rape a barely 8 years old child? Without waiting for his reply, Lit clenched his fist, distorting the man's head before making it implode like a walnut. Please, it's not my fault. Have mercy. I was just following orders. said the blonde, handsome youth, trying to free his trapped leg. Just following orders? I could lecture you about the many atrocities that men like you did with such an excuse. But you see, I'm just the same. I'm just following orders too. Mine, to be precise. A firebolt struck both horse and the rider, turning them into a pyre, screaming in agony. Lid returned to the kneeling men. They were still struggling to escape his control, their faces pale as ghosts, gritting their teeth while exerting every ounce of strength. I'm sorry, Liz said with a cherubic smile while letting them raise their head. But my puppet master spell isn't so simple. It takes more than a touch of strength than a spoonful of wishful thinking to escape from it. The two men wanted to beg for mercy, but their mouths refused to open. It was like their teeth were fused to each other. Now I have good news and bad news. The bad news is that I don't need both of you, and between the pack leader and a lackey, the choice is obvious. The good news is that I allow you to speak. Any last words? Please don't. I just married. I need the prize money from my lord. My wife is expecting a child. I could not allow to lose my position. Lit emitted a cruel, joyless laugh. We all have to agree to disagree. You say wife, yet all I can hear is widow. Lit put his left hand on the man's head, turning it into a block of ice. It fell to the ground, shattering into countless of shards of bones, skin, and brain matter. The man with the mustache started to puke uncontrollably, but his mouth was still tight shut. Some barf managed to escape from his nose. The rest he was forced to gulp it down over and over to avoid choking. Lit raised his hand, making the man with the mustache float in midair upside down so that he could watch him straight in the eyes. And now, you have only two choices. You can tell me what I want and die without suffering too much. Or you can keep resisting, suffering through unimaginable pain and agony before telling me what I want to know. You have free will, after all.